Hi, everyone. I want to talk about drugs, MS drugs. Are they really needed? And I want to tell you my story really quickly. I've told it before, so this will be the Cliff Notes version. When I was diagnosed with MS, this was about 10 years ago now. This was in 2015. I had an MRI done. I had lesions all over my brain and some down my spine. And I remember during that time, the neurologist knew, because I told her, that the insurance that I had at the time did not cover MS drugs. With that in mind, her solution was her getting me on a drug that was not FDA approved yet. They were trying to get enough people on it so that it could be FDA approved. And so I remember she told me about it, and then she sat me down. She gave me a big, thick document. It was 8.5 by 11 papers that was about a half an inch thick. It was really thick. And it was all about testing for that drug. Now, if I accepted taking that, I would have either had a placebo or I would have had the real drug that they were trying to get approved. And so I took this documentation home and I just sat with it for a while. I thought, is this really what my life has come down to? And during this time, thank God, I learned that I could heal without drugs. I learned that I could heal my body without taking any drugs. I was over the moon when I found this out. And it's the truth. I've done it. I am living proof that MS drugs are not needed. Now, if you, for instance, have MS or you have a loved one that has multiple sclerosis, they might have maybe a different autoimmune disease as well, because many times, actually 40% of us have one or more autoimmune diseases or maybe another condition. In that case, only because I've talked to multiple people who had multiple diseases who did have to take an antibiotic at one point or a different drug at one point. Now, if you're diagnosed with just MS, drugs are not needed. And I want to be respectful here because I know some of you believe in drugs and maybe they've helped a few of your symptoms. And I know that some of you might have friends or family in the medical world and you believe in drugs. But my belief, and I've done research on this, is that long-term medication ends up hurting you more than helping you. And again, I am living proof. I healed myself with mostly diet. And I also healed some past trauma, which I know was part of my disease as well. Now, self-care and exercise are the other components of healing. And I've always been pretty darn good with these. So know that you can heal yourself. I want to tell you a little bit about Big Pharma. And again, respectfully, if you have a colleague or you have family that's a doctor or in the medical field or a pharmacist, for example, I get that. These people are making a living. And I do believe that most doctors, for the most part, believe that they're helping you when they prescribe that MS drug to you. And I'm here to tell you that you are the cure. There is never going to be a magic pill that's going to cure you. Again, it might help some of your symptoms here and there, but many times that drug causes other symptoms to crop up. And then sometimes you need a drug to help those. And so here's something else I want to say. If you believe in God or you have a faith, and what is it, 80% of people do on earth, it's a high number. Don't you think that the earth provides everything that we need, including healing? And it's true. I can give you a handful of people, at least 10 people, who have healed themselves without medication, and also people that have weaned themselves off medication after healing. So I also want to talk a little bit about Big Pharma. And respectfully, I've done research on this. So, for example, the MS Society. At one point, I do remember going into their website and they did disclose where their money was going. Their financial statements were on there. Now, they're not on there today, but at one point, I looked at them and more than 50% of the money that was coming in was going out to big pharma. And the money that they were making was from donations. You know, they make millions and millions of dollars from people doing the MS walks and the bicycle rides, etc. And people give from the kindness of their hearts because they feel like they're doing the right thing. And the MS Society, you know, they say that one day we're going to have a cure. We're never going to have a cure with a pill or drugs. The cure is you. Half of the cure is your diet. I've learned this because I've done it. I've cured all of my symptoms with diet. And here's what else. Big Pharma is also heavily involved in a lot of doctors' medical schools. They want the doctors to prescribe the drugs. If we're not sick, Big Pharma does not make money. And this is the other thing that I've learned is that doctors have to go and yearly take courses to keep updated with their medical license. Big Pharma has a big hand in that. So when these doctors take these courses, I've learned that Big Pharma steps in and they pay for, I've read a couple of times, 50% of these courses for doctors to take. And these courses also advertise the drugs that they want the doctors to use. The other thing is in medical schools, lots of grants are given from Big Pharma, the pharmaceutical companies, because they want to teach the doctors to prescribe the drugs. Now, I'm not against all drugs. That's not what I'm about. There are plenty of drugs that are necessary that we need. But long-term drugs for disease, I am against because 90% of diseases out there can be cured, can be healed, can be reversed with diet and lifestyle. I've learned this. I've talked to numerous amount of people with different diseases who have healed themselves without drugs. And I'm happy to give you their names and phone numbers if you want to ask me for them. I remember after I cured all of my symptoms, I healed them all. They all reversed. They all went away. I took my friend Jennifer, who is a doctor, to lunch one day. And as we're having lunch, I said, Jennifer, did you have any education in diet and lifestyle? And she said, Adrienne, I got very little of it. And so I asked her, I said, why don't doctors get trained and tell the public to tell their patients that they can reverse their disease with diet and lifestyle? And what I found out is sometimes diet, especially, is an elective course in medical schools. An elective course. Like, this is the most important thing ever. And this just saddens me. But I also want to say that little by little, our medical system is changing. And that makes me happy. But it's a very slow progression. There's more functional medical practitioners out there. There's more holistic doctors out there. There's more healing practitioners. And more people in the medical field are turning this way because they are fed up with the medical profession. These are people that really want to help the people get well. And I know our medical system is going to make major changes. So in the next 20 to 50 years, it's going to be totally different. So now our medical insurance is really expensive. And you know why? Because it's to pay the drug companies so that we can get those drugs. Most people believe today that the drugs are helping them. And yes, they might be helping a little bit, but drugs will never heal a person. Never. You can heal yourself with your diet and lifestyle. I've helped people reverse their symptoms and get better without drugs. I've also helped people wean off their drugs. And I want to tell you this too, and this blows my mind. And this is when I did my research, God, when I was diagnosed with MS. MS drugs back then started at $55,000 a year and went up to just under $100,000. Now, MS drugs can get up to over $100,000. And this is how big pharma makes their money. They are a multi-billion-dollar company. And again, I'm not against drugs. We do need some drugs for sure. I'm glad that we have some drugs. Every once in a while, I need an aspirin or a Tylenol, and we need drugs for surgeries. We need to get put under sometimes. And there are many other drugs for other things that are needed, but long-term drugs are not needed. So I hope I got you thinking a little bit about big pharma and our drug system, and you can heal yourself without drugs. I'm here to tell you I'm living proof, and I can give you lots of other people who've done the same thing. So it has to do with your belief system as well. The person in the white jacket doesn't have all the power. You've got the power. You've got the power to heal.